It's not one single issue that has led to today's strike by members of the Hunter District Water Board Employees Association. According to the union, the dispute centres on a range of problems, including disagreement about the reorganisation of the headworks section, which deals with main supply lines, dams and treatment works. The union says it's tried to iron out problems with the Water Board, but its view is not getting through. It claims that when the union walked off the job on Friday, it agreed to provide people to do some emergency work, but didn't agree that all the functions were essential. It wanted the fluoride pumps turned off permanently during the dispute because excessive fluoride could be harmful to health. The union claims the water would be better off without many of the chemicals such as caustic soda, lime and alum, and refused to have people doing this work during the dispute. The union is particularly incensed by reports that engineering staff have stepped in to do some work. Union spokesman Barry Tobin says some emergency work will be carried out during the strike.
No wages division work, and that's the maintenance type work, will be carried out unless there is a direct danger to property, health, or it becomes a safety issue. So Jane, to answer your question, yes, we will provide emergency services under the, if it's going to cause a health or safety problem.
But according to the Hunter District Water Board, management only stepped in on Saturday to turn off one pump and turn on another because a reservoir was running dangerously low on water, and union officials were running late for a pre-arranged inspection.
Well, at this stage, the board and the association have set up a system whereby if there are any emergencies, then officers of the association go out and have a look at it. It really depends on what happens from day to day. We will endeavour, of course, to maintain the safety and the continuity of the water supply to the people of the region, and at this stage that is occurring.
Late this afternoon, this occurred, one of the first casualties of the strike, and because this burst main doesn't affect life or limb, it won't be fixed.
The decision was announced at the school's P&C meeting last night. The news had been expected for some time, with 100 concerned citizens attending. Hunter Regional Director of Education, Alan Beard, told them the school is the right size and location to be turned into a much-needed special school.
It just so happens that Katara Public School is in the drawing area of another large school. Katara South Public School has room and could quite easily take these children. They wouldn't be travelling to school any further than most children travel to school, so I can offer them alternatives which would fit very well in our system.
Despite the department's decision, the P&C says they have a unique country-style school for their children and want to keep it.
We think there are a lot of special things that the children here are able to get simply by being in a small school environment. They mix with children across all age groups, and we think that helps them as just learning what life is all about.
There was a glimmer of hope that the school might stay as it is when Mr Beard agreed to the setting up of a working party to look further into the Education Department's decision. However, he says it's only a matter of time before the school would have to close anyway.
So I guess the time would come, if it just remained the way it is, when heavy maintenance costs may bring the question up about whether we should keep it open on economic grounds.
According to police, a prison officer at the Maitland jail heard a scream at about 3 a.m. He went to investigate and found inmate Peter John Bell lying in his bottom bunk, bleeding profusely from lacerations to the neck. He was rushed to the Maitland Hospital and then taken to the Royal Newcastle Hospital, but died just before 7 a.m. Police questioned Bell's cellmate, Roderick Hilton Perry, for several hours today at the Maitland Police Station before charging him with murder. At 2 p.m, Perry, flanked by a large police entourage, arrived at Maitland Court to face a special hearing in front of a Justice of the Peace. Perry stared straight ahead, expressionless, while the charge of murder was read out to Justice of the Peace, Graham O'Rourke. Then, in a matter of minutes, the court appearance was over.
The case was adjourned until July 6 and no bail was sought.
At 3 p.m. this afternoon, a Morris Tasman and a Mitsubishi Sigma collided head-on. The result was glass everywhere and 2 people trapped for over half an hour. Rescue squads worked frantically to cut the people out. A 53-year-old woman was the first released from the Morris Tasman. She had a fractured femur and chest and eye injuries. She was flown by the Westpac rescue helicopter to Royal Newcastle Hospital, where she's now in a stable condition. It was some time before the 18-year-old male in the Sigma could be released. All the time, his 62-year-old fellow passenger, who escaped with bruising, watched on. At last, he was released. Blow-up splints were placed around his ankles, which had suspected fractures. He was taken by ambulance to the Cessnock Hospital and is in a satisfactory condition. He is also suffering from a fractured nose and chest injuries.
We've got teams coming down from Maxville on the north coast, from down Canberra and up around Guyra.
Now, people would probably be familiar with polo, but how does polo cross differ?
Well, about the only thing in common is the horse. In polo, the players are hitting the ball with a mallet, but in polo cross, you're actually picking it up in a net and passing it from player to player and bouncing it.
And some pretty good competition this weekend.
It'll be really good, especially in the women's competition. I think we've got every top woman in the state will be competing, because there's the big chance that they could possibly make the Australian side to go on a tour to New Zealand in January 1988.
And something special too for the Maitland Club as well.
Yes, it's their 31st year, and we're hoping that a lot of the old players from the past can get back there to help us celebrate this 31 years of polo cross.
The body of 28-year-old Newcastle prostitute Cheryl Birchall was discovered beside Throsby Creek on the 23rd of April. She'd been murdered. Detectives have been attempting to solve the crime with little to go on for the last 6 weeks. Now, police say the finding of a witness who saw the murdered woman near a parked car shortly before she disappeared is their biggest break. The mechanic reported last saw Birchall as she stood outside the motorcycle on Ties Hill at about 10 past 10 the night she was murdered. Returning 20 minutes later, he noticed her again, this time leaning in the passenger window of a late model white Holden utility, almost identical to this one. At first, this evidence wasn't fully investigated, as it was believed that another witness had seen the woman later that night. However, the discovery of a time card the mechanic filled in after finishing work confirmed that he had in fact been the last person to see Cheryl alive. Police are appealing to the public to help them find the car.
It's a fairly significant vehicle, and I would suggest that there wouldn't be too many of that type around. And should any members of the public who have any information in relation to any such vehicle, we would appreciate if they would come forward and give us the information.
And in another fresh development, police are appealing to a woman who phoned with information on Saturday afternoon to call back. They believe she may have additional knowledge which could greatly assist their inquiries.
The Maitland City Art Gallery has a special exhibition with paintings from 3 local galleries and selections from its own permanent collection. Spectacular works by David Boyd and John Passmore are on show. Both are valued in excess of $10,000. A total of 39 paintings are on display, including works by local artists Michael Good and Christine Ross. The exhibition continues until June 28th. Meanwhile, the Cooks Hill Gallery has an exhibition of Queensland paintings. 6 painters are featured, including Rick Everingham and Lawrence Dawes. Expected to take most interest will be works by Sam Fulbrook, who during his early life worked as a timber getter and stockman at Gloucester. The 65-year-old has twice won the Archibald and Wynne prizes. This painting, titled Mr. Ambassador, sells for $18,000, while you'll be able to pick up Nambucca Head for $45,000. This exhibition continues until July 6th.
The seminar at Maitland Bowling Club attracted 120 teachers, coaches and people concerned with sport. The 3-hour presentation involves a video starring well-known Sydney Rugby League players and lectures on different aspects of basic first aid. Today, Robert Stadden, himself a paraplegic, spoke on the spine and potential dangers to it. The sessions cover 6 basic rules for injury prevention.
Don't play.
They are: be fit before
Fitness
playing,
is obey the rules.
play
This
to the
is rule
rules,
number 5. Plan is to
use the
match
right
your sport
person
with
for the
your
right
body
position,
shape. Is develop coordination. Game skills are
practice
essential.
skills
6.
and play with the
Use
correct
the
equipment.
right equipment for
The
your
Sports
teacher
Safe
or
package
coach
has been
on
sent
what
to
you
high
should wear.
schools and is travelling
Make sure
around
that
the
you're
state. Recreation Officer Diane Hay says they'd like to have the information flow to everyone involved in sport. She says there's no reason body contact sports should be banned at schools, although there is a need for a greater emphasis on safety.
A lot more care has to be taken with the players themselves, with the teachers that are in charge of the players and in charge of the sports.
And if people take notice of the advice in such a package as this, they can be played safely.
Yes. The video covers the safety aspect of the games, not just the contact games, but safety in general of playing sport.
It's the first time the state titles have been held outside the metropolitan area. 95 teams from across the state will play a series of round-robin games in the Open, 21 and under-18 divisions. One of the favourites tipped to take out the 3-day titles is the Manly Warringah side, champions for the past 4 years, featuring Australian captain Anne Sargent in fine form.
The Polar Bear Regatta, so named for obvious reasons, is held on the long weekend every year. Any boat is welcome to participate as long as it has 2 hulls, and they came from all over the state to take part. 120 catamarans entered this year for the 5 races to be held over 3 days. This morning they made a colourful sight as the occasional sunshine picked out their multicoloured triangles against a grey background. At least this was one sport where the intermittent rain wouldn't stop play, just add extra meaning to that polar bear label. The catamarans range in size from 4.1 metres to 6 metres and compete in 14 different divisions. Overall line honours today went to Olympic champion Chris Carnes sailing a Tornado.
National Park looks a little like Tent City as the players and officials set up emergency accommodation to fend off the intermittent showers that have been part of the title so far. The Open Division will be fought out by the gun teams Manly and Randwick. Manly have beaten the only other team rated as a real chance for the title when they defeated Sutherland 23-20. Manly and Randwick are unbeaten and will clash tomorrow. In the under-21s, Manly, Newcastle and Sutherland have all lost just 1 game apiece to head the ladder in this round-robin tournament. Manly and Newcastle will clash tomorrow, and that match could decide that title. In under-18s, Bankstown and Newcastle remain unbeaten. They also clash tomorrow to decide the New South Wales title.
Oh,
Out at Toronto, the water from the skies was of no concern, with 18 races run in the big 2-day annual Queen's Birthday Regatta. The Ken Waggatt Memorial Race for 5.2 litre inboards was decided today, and it went to Alan Smith's Sydney boat Dargle. Second was Melody, with Running Free in third spot. 19 races will be held tomorrow, with the main event, the 2-day point score Alan Hatherwell Memorial decided. The action of 45 boats entered starts at 10 a.m.
The Margaret Jerd Learning Centre is housed in the old Carrington Club Hotel. Residents of the industrial suburb, local dignitaries and politicians gathered to see Mrs Hawke declare it officially open. She commended the Newcastle Youth Service for setting up and running the centre.
It was the first organisation in Australia to recognise the importance of street work to meeting the problems of young people at risk in our community. As you will be aware, young people are a high priority on the government's agenda.
Youth was almost the theme of Mrs Hawke's commitments. She took time out to meet with members of Hunter Life Education, an organisation she has long supported in their efforts to educate children about the effects of drug abuse. Mrs Hawke met some of the reasons for the anti-drug campaign at the Working Women's Centre. The voters of tomorrow said they had already met the Prime Minister on a previous visit.
Do you remember a man called Bob Hawke who's the Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Did you say hello to him?
Hello.
Mrs Hawke maintains her Hunter Valley tour is not electioneering.
I came up here to do a few things that I'd been asked to do, and I'm very happy to be here.
How is Mr Hawke standing up to the campaign pressure?
Oh, very well. You know, when a campaign begins, the adrenaline runs, and they're quite exciting. They're hard work, but it's all very positive.
And the election result?
Oh, we'll win.
The visit to the Hunter may have been arranged months before the election date was announced, but there's no doubt the Hawkes are hard on the campaign trail. Mrs Hawke will attend a dinner at Cessnock tonight. Tomorrow she will visit Branxton, Singleton and Maitland, where she will open the ALP campaign headquarters.
Although Mrs Hawke's visit was organised before the election was announced, member for Hunter Eric Fitzgibbon decided this was too good an opportunity to let it pass by, and so she was recruited to open his campaign headquarters in Maitland. She said she enjoys it, but she says she's not interested in running as a candidate.
I'm not a politician, I'm not an elected politician, but I am an average citizen who reads the newspapers and is interested in what's going on. And I'm very much aware, I have been since I was a very young woman, that the political decisions and processes affect all of our lives in every day, in every way. And it behoves us, I think, to be interested and to be responsible in the way that we exercise our vote.
Then came the exercise that all politicians and their wives are expected to undertake. The traditional walk down the street to meet the people, kiss or at least make a fuss at babies, and talk to all of Sunday.
Mrs Hawke's up here visiting, mate. Right, I heard on the radio, I heard her speak at a Warwick church this morning. That's right, yeah. Did she speak well? Well, she does speak well, yeah. She does speak well. Yeah.
Still, Mrs Hawke maintains she's not a political animal.
Well, I don't think of myself as a political animal in that I don't want to be a front runner. I don't want to be an elected politician with all of those involvements and responsibilities. But I do find the political process very interesting indeed and very relevant to our lives. So in that degree, I suppose I'm a bit political.
Thanks, Mrs Hawke, very much for your time. Thank you.
Five cars from Newcastle will be taking part in the rally, which starts Saturday week with an assembly in Sydney and the official start next day from Perth. The event is designed to raise money for charity, and last year's raised $410,000 for the Variety Club of Australia. Part of the money raised this year will go towards a $30,000 bus for the Waratah Orthopaedic School. This year's route will be via Charleville, Longreach and Hughenden. Of the expected 600 people taking part, most will have to camp out during the 7-day trip. It's cost each car crew $3,000 to enter, and as Trevor Drummond says, further money will be raised en route.
Every town you go through, you'll get fined. You've got to pay money to go across every bridge or across every river. You're fined if you're going too fast, you're fined if you're going too slow. You're fined if you've done something silly during the day. It's just all to raise money for charity. How much do you think?
Looking after the 5 local crews will be a backup crew of 3, including John and Brian Mooney. John, a senior sergeant, has managed to arrange some special accommodation along the way for the crews.
Well, I've made phone calls to some of the outback police stations, and with a little bit of luck, we may find a nice dry cell out there somewhere at those police stations. In any case, the police themselves have indicated that we can use their facilities, the backyard and verandas, etc., that are available out that way.
Les Slack, manager of the Smith family in Newcastle, says people don't realise the extent of the welfare crisis in this area. Normally, this loading bay would be roof high with bags of warm clothing, but people are hanging on longer because of the downturn, and those who have none are on the increase, and so the pickings are getting desperately thin. Mr Slack also mentions the proliferation of op shops, which are willing to pay for old clothing, eating into his organisation's usual sources. What it all adds up to is a crisis of unprecedented proportions for the Smith family. More people than ever in need, and fewer willing and able to give.
If we're not getting the clothing, it puts a great pressure on us for cash. We have to buy children's pyjamas, we have to buy blankets and things like that, so it puts an enormous strain on us for cash donations.
And are they down too?
Yes, they're down very, very much in Newcastle.